Hey everybody, and welcome back to Video Game Esoterica, and here's an episode I did not expect to be bringing you this Friday, but here we are. The Sega 32X is now working on the MiSTer SRG320, randomly just released this on 420, probably a little wink and a nod there, but who knows. But 32X is on MiSTer, and it's not only amazing to have it, but it's an amazing story why it's even here. Normally this is the point in time where I say hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps us out, but today I'm going to say I left a link to SRG320's Patreon link down below, and that is because, without providing too much details, he lives in an area of the world, Ukraine, that's clearly going through some stuff right now. YouTube's weird about what you can say, but the fact that he released this in and of itself is absolutely amazing and really surprising. Really, all he has to do is just take care of himself and stay safe, but he decided to release the 32X core. So if you have a couple extra bucks, even if it's only for a month, check that link out down below and maybe give him a few of your dollars. I'm sure he could use it. But getting on to more positive things, the 32X works on MiSTer, and that is just really random and amazing. It's definitely not the deepest library of any console is concerned, but of course having something like this on MiSTer is amazing because 32X hardware is not cheap, the games are not cheap, and having it available for more people to play will let them check the library out. I mean, there's definitely better ways to play Doom, but when I was a kid and I had a friend who had a 32X before I had a computer that was fast enough to run Doom, this was amazing to play. I know now as an adult this isn't a very good version of it, but it is the version of Doom that I got the most playtime on before my family bought a new computer. So the idea that we're playing it on MiSTer is just insane. I cannot believe it. No one had any real inkling of this actually dropping, but here we are. And that's the great thing about the MiSTer community. You never know what's going to happen. You will be surprised. And I think this is going to get a lot more people playing 32X, because while it did emulate, not a lot of people collect the original hardware. I've got over 35 consoles in my collection. I do not have a 32X in there, and I don't plan on adding one anytime soon. And now that it's on MiSTer, I really don't think I'm ever going to add one, to be honest with you. But now it's on MiSTer, so why would anyone add one unless you're even more of a collector than I am? Now, my assumption is that this is possible because the maker of this core is working on the Sega Saturn core, and the 32X uses the Hitachi SH series CPU the same way the Saturn does. Now, there are slight differences. It's not the identical silicon, but I would presume that his work getting Sega Saturn running on MiSTer allows him to kind of use that in a derivative manner to bring 32X. This might be part of a research project to try to get that chip working a little bit better to maybe solve some things on Saturn. Now, I am presuming, but that's what happens. People make presumptions, and I am not a coder or hardware engineer, but I think that's probably pretty close to what might be the truth. But it's just wild. I got a message at work today from somebody saying, Sega 32X is on MiSTer, and I wrote back being like, no, it's definitely not on MiSTer, and then they sent me a link, and that's when I found out it was here. And it is fun to go through the library. There are some decent experiences. Knuckles Chaotix is a fun game. I never played it back in the day, but I did play it as an adult. I would say there's a lot better Sonic universe-related games you could play, but as an example of how good this core already looks, just look at the colors, look at the images. Everything looks pristine and perfect. Now, this is not a core review. I would never review anything that wasn't finished, especially with somebody in an active war zone. But what I can say is, this is pretty damn impressive, and the fact that he just released it out of the blue is even better. Like I said, nothing about this core will improve the 32X library. There's some games that are pretty good on it, but for the most part it's kind of forgettable. But it looks amazing, and the sound sounds perfect too. So go ahead and listen for like 35 seconds, and I'll come back and talk more about this really random revelation that 32X is here. But enjoy! Hey, it sounds great to me, but I don't own an original 32X, so you tell me below if you've played Knuckles Chaotix on original hardware, how did that sound? Because it sounds clear, pristine, everything I would expect out of the audio sounds really nice. Now, the library of the 32X isn't the deepest thing in the world, because as far as an add-on to the Genesis, it was not successful at market. By this point in time, people were kind of tired of Sega trying to release new add-ons before the Saturn, but I would say for this core and its state, has a lot of awesome options. Honestly, they're not the deepest in the world, but the 32X isn't that, complex, so what do you really need? You could play full screen if you wanted, you can do a corrected aspect ratio, you got a couple composite blend options down there, and there's a little bit of a deeper menu where you can remove the sprite limit, things such as that. But everything worked perfectly. I didn't take more than 30 seconds to set this up. I copied the core file into the consoles folder, dropped my ROMs into a folder called S32X, booted it up, and I was playing, insert finger snap noise here that I'll probably forget in editing, that quickly. And I'm not going to put that finger snap in, I just felt like saying it. But I just can't believe it. Nobody knew he was working on this. People talked about wanting 32X. I've gotten a lot of comments asking if I knew when 32X was coming to MiSTer, and now you know that is today. Everything seems to be playing at full speed. The controls are extremely responsive. Now, I don't play a lot of 32X Virtua Fighter, but I do play a lot of Saturn Virtua Fighter, and I was able to pull off the same moves in the same pacing that I would expect. Now, it's possible that he might make enhancements to this core, or maybe somebody else will pick up the work and finish it for him. These are the early days, because obviously this core just came out 36 hours ago, so there's probably a lot of updates and a lot of fiddling to go. But what this really makes me hopeful for is that the Saturn is more in progress, because they do share those Hitachi SH series CPUs, just in a slightly different derivative. That means that the Saturn is being worked on. Now again, he has a lot of things going on, the core maker, outside of making this, so don't contact him and ask him when it's done. It'll be done when and if he finishes it, and that's kind of just the reality of it. But I will say again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you got a couple spare bucks, use that Patreon link and send him a couple dollars as a thank you. I'm sure he would 100% appreciate your support and patronage for this awesome project, because that's what this is. This is awesome. It's more preservation on MiSTer, allowing more people to play hardware and games they probably never played before in the comfort of their own home in a modern way. Because I knew one person as a kid that had a 32X, and because I don't really have much of an attachment to it, I've never added it to my collection. But I'll probably use the MiSTer and go through some of the games and actually decide whether or not I want to pick the hardware up. And that's the great thing about the MiSTer project in and of itself, is that you can play and experience new games and hardware and kind of audition them and decide, is this something I would want in my collection or not? I remember playing a lot of Virtua Fighter back in the day. I remember playing a lot of Virtual Racing back in the day, and I love Virtual Racing the same way I did before, and this has made me want to go out and buy a 32X. It is a stupid thought. I don't know why I'm thinking it, but it's what I'm thinking. It's probably what I'm going to do sometime this week. But honestly, just be smarter than me and play 32X on the MiSTer, because as far as I can tell, it is an excellent implementation of the hardware, and it's just a console that, like I said, not many people have experience with, so it's great that you can check it out. Because I will say that there are some hidden gems in the library, and now that it works on MiSTer, I might decide to do a 32X series in the future, because I feel confident capturing the 32X via MiSTer is going to give a really good experience, because everything I'm getting out of it right now is amazing. I would say this is a really good version of Space Harrier as well, so definitely if you've never played that game before, give the 32X version a try. But yeah, the 32X is here. It's on MiSTer. It's fully functional. It takes very little time to set up. If you have any questions about how to get it set up, just leave me a comment down below. You can join the MiSTer Discord, or you can join my Discord with the link below. I'm always happy to help you get these things set up and point you in the right directions, because if you've never manually installed a core before, you do have to do it. It's not part of Update All or Downloader yet, so if you just update your MiSTer main, you're not going to see it. But yeah, that's a real big surprise. Nobody expected 32X. When I got the message saying, hey, it's available, I thought somebody was wrong. But here we are playing 32X on MiSTer. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I'll be back next week with more MiSTer videos, because this one was a bonus. My Patreon link's down below, and SRG320's Patreon link's down below. And this week, if you think about supporting one person, make it him and not me. Trust me, I want him to have the money more. I'll see you guys next time. 32X is here. Bye-bye.